So number 2, the owner of an ice cream franchise must pay the parent company $1,000 per month plus 5% of the monthly revenue. Operating costs of the franchise includes a fixed cost of $2,600 per month for items such as utilities and labor. The cost of ice cream and supplies is 50% of the revenue. So we kind of have a little twist on a couple of these. So we have to pay attention to what we're labeling things and how that's all going to work out. Find a model giving the owner's monthly expenses as a function of revenue and interpret its slope. So I'm going to call E is going to be the owner's expenses. Or let's just say let E equal owner's expenses. I'm going to let R equal the monthly revenue. And that's in dollars. Now we have to figure out a model and how that will work. Okay, so I marked up some things in the problem. I'm looking back to this owner has to pay the parent company some monthly fixed costs of $1,000 each month. They also have to pay 5% in variable costs. The operational costs also have to get rolled into that monthly amount. So $2,600 per month gives me $3,600 total in fixed costs. And then I have that variable cost that I had before, 5%, plus also just the ice cream supplies and things like that. And the ice cream itself is 50% of the revenue. So that would be total variable costs of 55% per month. Okay, so generally the total costs, remember, costs equals fixed costs plus variable costs. Talked about that a little bit. So we are going to write this equation. E of R is actually what that is. It's related to revenue. And we would have a 0.55 R, or you could put your fixed cost first, it doesn't matter, plus 3,600. And that would be the model for the owner's expenses as a function of revenue. And to interpret its slope, we could just say the slope is actually, if we want to think of it as 0.55 over 1 or 55%, that just means every time the revenue increases by $1, the expenses increase by 55 cents. So for every increase in revenue of $1, the expenses increase by 55% of $1, which would be 55 cents. Now we need to try to find part B, find a model giving the monthly profit as a function of revenue. So again, we're just going to call P is our monthly profit. Because that wasn't declared yet. We also need to remember that profit equals revenue minus the costs. In this case is the expenses. Okay. And we want to put those two things together. So if we think of revenue as everything we took in, we would have the profit in relation to R, put it like that, P of R, equals R, think of it as 1R, minus our expenses, which we have a model for right here, 0.55 R plus 3,600. Now we're going to distribute our negative. So we'll end up with, and this is like a 1, remember, if you know there's nothing there, it's just a 1. You can put in P of R equals 1R minus 0.55 R minus 3,600. And so I'm just going to kind of consolidate here. That R minus 0.055 R will just give me 0.45 R. Okay. And don't forget to distribute also to that 3,600 to get that subtracted. And the slope for that one means for every additional dollar in revenue, because it's like the slope is actually 0.45 over 1. And so every time this revenue goes up, our profit is going to increase by 45 cents. Okay, so I'll jot that down for you. So there we have, for every additional dollar in revenue, profit increases by 45 cents. This 45% of a dollar is 45 cents. Determine the monthly revenue needed to break even. So in order to do that, we can set our profit equal to 0, or we could set our revenue equal to our expenses, aka costs. So whichever way you want to do that. I'm just going to do it because we set the profit equal to 0 because we just were working with that one. So we would have 0 equals 0.45 R minus 3,600, because if we have 0 profit, that means we break even. So then I would just add 3,600 to both sides. Just solve this out real quick. Divide both sides by 0.45. And I get 8,000 as my R. So we could say something like, you know, the owner needs to make at least $800 or $8,000 in revenue to break even. Because if he's not, he or she or whoever is doing it, isn't even making that, then the costs are just, it's not worth it, right? You even want to kind of think, how much am I making? Is it a decent amount? Is it worth all this extra work I'm doing? So there's a third problem on here as well. Number 3. So that one I have already done in a separate video. I did it for the hybrid students. So for the online students, if you want to hold on to that one for a minute, and I'll put that video up. It has some other things on there too, but I'll add that to your assignment box, and you can go through that. It's a really nice one. It has a few twists to think about too. So I'll post that and you can work through that one. Have a great day. There is going to be another part to this. You have another worksheet that has a bunch more examples. It's kind of like a really good review for your test also, and just in general. trying to do a good mix of business problems with some science things as well. So I will probably get that one up there tomorrow. So look for that. Have an awesome night.